Hi, and welcome to a Sense of Wellness podcast, inspiring and empowering a healthier you. I'm your host, Susan Greeley, and I'll be diving deeper into the 4 pillars of wellness: sleep, exercise, nutrition, and stress management. Today, I'm excited to be talking about the science of life, or Ayurveda. When it comes to health and wellness, reducing and managing inflammation is a hot topic because we now know that inflammation is the root cause of much ill health. Chronic stress and poor diet alone are 2 lifestyle factors that lead to inflammation and disease. So I'm very happy to be joined by an expert in Ayurvedic medicine. My guest today, Dr. Shivani Gupta, fuses Eastern and Western medicine to help bring our bodies back into balance. Dr. Shivani is an Ayurvedic practitioner, and she is the founder of Fusionary Formulas, which is an Ayurvedic company that helps people with inflammation and pain. Dr. Shivani completed her master's in Ayurvedic Sciences and earned her PhD on the spice turmeric. She's been in practice for more than 20 years, and her passion is teaching at-home remedies to reduce and overcome inflammation naturally and ultimately help clients achieve vibrant health. Shivani, thank you for being here today. This is so timely to be talking about managing stress and inflammation during the holiday season and winter.
Absolutely. And honestly, year round, I feel like nowadays we are carrying stress 24/7 all year long, and we're inflamed, unfortunately. And if we're paying attention, it's showing up. The body is signaling that to us.
That is probably the number one cause of most disease these days. Don't you see it? I see chronic stress all the time, day in, day out. Yeah.
And if we look at models, other countries are so much better at shifting lifestyle to be more balanced than we are.
That's definitely true. Well, that is why we're here today. And I know you are an expert in this area. And my podcast is all about giving listeners tools and tips and helping them create their own health toolkit, Shivani. So let's start by diving into what is Ayurveda. I think it's important for listeners to hear from someone like yourself. What is this science of life, and how can it help us on the path to longevity? More importantly, then, I want to dive into your doctorate in turmeric and inflammation. Let's start with all of that.
For sure. So what I love is that Ayurveda is this ancient wisdom, this ancient system of medicine from India that's over 5,000 years old. And within Ayurveda, really the teaching was about how to build a resilient and healthy body so you have great longevity. And the goal there is to bring body, mind, and spirit into alignment. And so the thing is, nowadays, modern day times has really caused such a dis-ease and disconnect from us being in total alignment. And so Ayurveda brings in its toolkit, teaching us our individual mind-body constitution. Ayurveda teaches that we are made of nature and nature is us. And so if we understand those primary elemental forces that we're each made of, then we know how to navigate this blueprint more easily. And so that's really a good guidepost that we can use. Understanding, are you more fire? Are you more air? Are you more earth? And accordingly, shifting your diet and your schedule and your activities accordingly. Then we teach about gut health. Ayurveda always said gut health is the center of all health. And what's really cool is modern day science is now saying that the gut microbiome is central. Your gut-brain axis connects your gut health and brain health. So mood, anxiety, depression tied to the gut. We know that the immune system, over 80% of it is residing alongside that gut lining. So because the immune system is right there, if you want immune health, if you want to defend yourself against what's coming, it's important to focus on gut health. So we have a lot of tools for gut when it comes to spices, how we eat, when we eat, just to optimize gut health over our longevity. And then another pillar I love to teach is around food. We teach something called the sattvic diet, a very yogic diet. And this idea that fresh, healthy, nutrient-dense, nutrient variety food eating seasonally is very beneficial. Then we teach my number 4 pillar is circadian rhythm. And so Ayurveda came up with circadian rhythm and said nature has a clock. And if you live according to that clock, you will stay balanced and healthy. And if you defy that clock, that's how we create disease. And then finally, we teach a lot about super spices. So I fell in love with turmeric, the spice, and ginger and ashwagandha and a lot of the super spices. I think super spices are the new superfood that we must incorporate to take our health to the levels that we want to. And finally, the last pillar is self-care. So Ayurveda teaches a whole series of self-care rituals that you can do every single day to gently detox the body, to gently unwind that toxic burden that we're all accumulating just living in modern day times. And that self-care can help build your circadian rhythm and support you to have the level of vibrant health that you crave.
I love that overview. Thank you. So let's dive into a little more of the specifics of that gentle daily detox. I think that that's what we're all lacking, honestly. How do you start your day and then go through the day, Shivani, and then ending the day? I think a lot of people think about that as winding down at night. You mentioned circadian rhythm. You touched on so many aspects of our health that we tend to neglect throughout our daily lives. So let's go through what is a gentle daily detox.
Sure. So in Ayurveda, taking one step back from that, we teach that if gut health is the center of all health, and we have a digestive fire called Agni, our job is to respect that fire, build that fire, and have it be so robust that when we eat a meal, we're going to process and assimilate the benefits of it and absorb that nutrition. And nowadays, we know our food has 10 to 20, 30% maybe of the vitamins and minerals that it used to have. So us absorbing the nutrition we need is even more important. And when it comes to that fire, a lot of us have a weak fire, whether it's digestive enzymes being too low, not having the acidity we need in the stomach, not setting ourselves up for that healthy fire. So what Ayurveda teaches is that fire, if it's not working right, is going to allow the foods that we eat to not be processed properly, which creates something called ama, or this toxin residue in the system. And then the body's constantly like, why is this toxin buildup happening? And it creates inflammation because it doesn't understand what's happening there. So this idea of toxin buildup and gut health is integral to understanding why we're inflamed according to the Ayurvedic philosophy. And so then taking that to the self-care rituals, all the rituals are built around how do we decrease that ama, decrease the toxin buildup that we're having. And if you think about it, some people say there's no toxin buildup in the body. Ayurveda said, look, everything you put on your skin is the largest organ of the body. Everything you breathe in, everything you drink, everything you eat. We know in modern day times, there's a lot of pesticides, herbicides, and chemicals in what we're consuming nowadays. So the body sometimes doesn't know what to do with all that. So it just plants it in different places, maybe in our fat deposits, waiting for us to do the detox practices to release it. So Ayurveda says when you start your day in the morning, touch the ground, touch your forehead, and just say a moment of grace, a moment of thank you for starting your day, and set an intention for the day. Could be an intention of peace, could be an intention for whatever it is you crave, joy. I always say peace for myself. And what's good is because you're touching the ground, that's the first moment where you're compressing all your internal organs. Because in Ayurveda, what we're angling for is that daily bowel movement. Having a healthy poop in the morning is so key. So that's your first step. Then we say to have a copper-lined cup alongside your bed or any glass of water and hydrate early on in the morning so that you ensure that you have peristalsis or a great bowel movement. Then next up, brush your teeth, and we recommend using a copper tongue scraper. So a lot of people are using the back of their toothbrush, they're using their toothbrush. Ayurveda always taught that a copper tongue scraper, first of all, is antimicrobial. The copper metal itself is self-cleaning in a sense. You should still rinse it. But what you do is you take that copper tongue scraper and you gently scrape the tongue 7 to 14 times. And what this is going to do is we teach that all the organs of the body are reflected on the bottom of the foot. Just like in reflexology, they're reflected on the bottom of our feet. So our tongue has all our organs reflected just like the bottom of our foot. So when you take a tongue scraper and you gently scrape the tongue, you're going to gently scrape all that ama and toxin buildup that's in and alongside all of our organs. And you're also going to ignite the digestive fire. And you're also going to ignite your taste buds to work better. So when you taste your food, you really taste it and you're more satisfied. And so that one habit has helped so many people I know with constipation, with different issues, but it's a gentle daily detox so that when you go to do your seasonal detoxes or annual detoxes, you're already really supported. You've already done the daily work to accumulate towards that bigger work. Then we recommend oil pulling. So you may have heard of oil pulling on TikTok. It's becoming really popular. And people are talking about coconut oil and oil pulling being a new trend. It's not a new trend. This is a 5,000-year-old trend where Ayurveda said, take oil, put it in your mouth, and swish it around for about 5 to 20 minutes. And by doing so, you're going to accumulate all the toxins and bacteria and junk that accumulates in our mouth. And when you spit it out in the trash, not your toilet, sink, or shower, because you will clog up the pipes of your house using so much oil. So pay attention to that. Some people will go for their morning walk and they'll spit it out in a bush or in the grass or something. So just not the house pipes is important. But what you're doing here is you're cleaning out the oral microbiome. And many of us have a lot of gunk that accumulates up here in the mouth, maybe processed ingredients and things like that. And oral microbiome is tied to gut microbiome. So you clean oral microbiome, you're supporting heart health, but you're also supporting that gut microbiome. And we want that signaling to be really clean, because we teach in Ayurveda that when you take that first bite of food, you are already telling your gut what enzymes to release. More alkaline, more acidic, which enzymes? Is it cooked food? Is it raw food? So keeping the signaling clear is very important. And so from there, we recommend taking your morning shower. We also recommend meditation, deep breathing, which we call pranayama, and yoga. Yoga and Ayurveda are sister sciences. So we very much recommend yoga being part of your daily life. And there's even yoga therapy. So if you've got different issues, you can really focus on which asanas and poses you do. So bringing back that meditation and mindfulness first thing is key. And then we recommend having a breakfast. We don't skip breakfast in Ayurveda. You can push that breakfast time. We recommend holding a 12-hour fast at least, but more than 12 to 14 hours, we don't recommend getting too extreme with the body. We do believe in breakfast. And then you start your day. Now, there are a few self-care rituals you could do in the morning after your morning meditation and yoga. I have moved those into the evening because I find so many of us have a lot to do in our day. We don't have all this free time to make the morning rituals take an hour and a half. I can maybe do that on the weekend, but not during the work week. So those rituals would have been dry brushing. So in the evening, I'll take a break around 8 to 9 o'clock before bed. Dry brushing the body, that's taking a vegetable bristle brush, like a high quality one, not plastic. And you gently massage the body from the feet all the way up to your neck. So on your, for example, extremities, you're using long strokes. Anytime you hit a joint, like your elbow or your knees or even your stomach, in our case, you go in clockwise circles. And so what you're doing is you're moving the lymphatic system. You're moving that subtle system in the body before bed, which I love because it's detoxing. It's going to move everything before our body's ready to rejuvenate, heal, and clear out everything that does not serve us. So dry brushing is a beautiful, simple habit that can get you more mindful and more present to the body. And after dry brushing, we recommend abhyang massage. Abhyang massage is self-massage. You get any food-grade organic oil, can be coconut oil, sesame oil, any oil you like, really. And you gently massage that into the body, really gifting it to your body. So imagine just laying down a towel, starting with your feet. Maybe your ankles are cracked, your heels are dry, moving all the way up towards the knees, all the way up to the neck. And then once a week, if you'd like, you can do a head oil massage for thicker, healthier hair. But what this oil is going to do is it's going to create an oleation of the joints. It's very grounding. We teach that one of the constitutions is called vata, which is very air and ether. So many of us who are all over the place and overwhelmed and stressed and anxious, calms you down a couple notches. It really improves your sleep quality. So it's a beautiful way to set yourself up for a very delicious night's sleep. And then you can lightly shower. Try not to take too much of the oil off with soap because that oil has benefits to the body. And then you shift into bedtime. So those are the rituals from Ayurveda.
That just took detox to a whole new dimension for me. I was not aware of all of those practices.
Yeah, these are Ayurvedic practices. And when I learned about them, I was like, oh my God, wow. No wonder I feel so dry, all over the place, overwhelmed, never, ever able to just feel settled and grounded. And what's cool is so many of us have gut health issues and gut dysbiosis issues. And so by using these self-care rituals, we're able to really gently and nicely detox the body, detox our system. And when you detox gently daily, that's how the body's going to receive it best. And that's how the body's going to hold the result the best. Being extreme with our body to unwind something that took time isn't the way to go. It's unwind gently because you took time to create those issues.
Wow, Shivani, I have several questions around that whole daily process of your gentle detox, including starting in the morning. You mentioned copper twice, the copper tongue scraper and the copper cup near your bed. This is all new to me, and I'm sure it's new to listeners as well. So interesting. Why copper specifically? And is this something, we can just go onto Amazon and order?
You can. A lot of Indian grocery stores sell all these copper items. Amazon sells them as well now because it's gaining popularity. In ancient India, they probably had cups made of, I know that they had cups made of silver because I'm gifted a lot of silver cups, steel cups, but copper cups kept everything clean longer. So they were the ones who discovered, hey, this copper has a special property to it that if I put my water in there, it stays clean, it stays good for longer. And so a lot of what we use is actually copper lined for that benefit. And then what's interesting is nowadays, look around, our food is lacking a lot of vitamins and minerals. So remineralizing the body is a whole job unto itself. They're selling things that have iron in them so that more iron is in our food. So in the same way, you can add copper into your life just by using a copper lined cup or a copper tongue scraper.
So interesting. Okay. And simple as well, which is really the most important part, is that this is all very doable.
Yeah.
Maybe changing out the cup that's next to your bed anyway.
Exactly.
And I tell people that you should have some water or something next to the bed to drink. We're all dehydrated too. I think that's a big part of our daily lives too, is hydrating better. Okay. So we've got the tongue scraping, the oil pulling. Well, first the grounding, called touching the forehead and the ground, setting your intention for the day. I absolutely love that. And how about then diet? I was in some ways avoiding the nutrition aspect to this, but we cannot, of course, because Ayurvedic diets are, the crux of it, in my opinion. And I've dabbled in it a little bit, but how do you keep it general, but also very specific? I was listening to a podcast about the doshas, and it was saying you don't necessarily need to take this test and even know your doshas, because we're not that simple, right? Like, human beings are complex. And so are there general principles, Shivani, that apply to everybody rather than stressing about, oh gosh, what is specific to me based on my dosha or at this moment? Because I think it can get very stressful for people, ironically, when they're worried that, oh, this isn't on my list according to my dosha. So can you explain this?
Sure. So what's interesting is Ayurveda teaches us a lot of principles around how to eat, when to eat. And I like that because nowadays in modern day times, we've gotten real opinionated about diet. Yes. There's the carnivore clan, there's the vegan clan, and then there's everything in between. And I watch the science on all of it. And I'm always trying to ascertain, okay, I see what you're saying about protein, but dairy, and it's just so convoluted right now. So what's beautiful is Ayurveda said, listen, moderation, variety, nutrient density. If you have moderation, instead of being so extreme one way or any direction, you can usually achieve the middle road when it comes to your health. And so the number one thing Ayurveda teaches us is eat your 3 square meals. Don't snack and munch in between, because you're honoring a fire. That digestive fire is like a campfire. Your job is to open that fire up in the morning, ready to use it. That's why we have these morning rituals and tongue scraping. You can even add a ginger lemon tea in the morning or aloe vera juice. So if you've started your morning and you're in a rush and you haven't used the bathroom yet, and it's your cycle time to use the bathroom in the morning, we have all sorts of tools and drinks and elixirs just to get your system moving, get that bowel movement out of the way. Why? Because that's part of detoxing, getting rid of everything. Then you start your healthy day with a clear deck. Breakfast, you open the campfire, and then you close it. You're done with your meal. Don't keep munching and doing things. Pause, have lunch. We teach that lunch is actually the biggest meal of the day. From 10 to 2 on the clock, we call it the pitta time of day, the fire time of day. So you're most supported to absorb the maximum nutrition and benefits from your lunch. So make sure at lunch you're dropping in your sprouts or your nuts and seeds or your superfoods, whatever foods you consider most important. Lunch is a good time to get it. And don't make that a salad and light meal trying to be healthy, because that's your meal to digest and absorb. Then later on, if you need an afternoon snack, I'm one of those people. I get hangry if I don't pause and have my afternoon tea with a little something to hold me over till dinner. And then have a dinner that ends by 7, ideally, because honoring the circadian clock is so important. So if you finish dinner by 7 and let it be like a soup or a stew, something lighter, you have time then to process it, digest it, and absorb it. And so then by 10 o'clock, if you can sleep, again, 10 to 2 on the clock is what we call pitta time of day. We really want you to get sleep starting at 10 o'clock. And most people push their bedtime really far, but the closer to 10 you are, you're leveraging that 10 to 2 on the clock to clean, detox, clear inflammation, all those things that matter. So coming back to food, we teach fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, organic, local. Don't microwave your food. If you're going to eat meat, eat very clean, good meat. We talk a lot about healthy fats. We love ghee in Ayurveda, and we know now that seed oils and oils in liquid form at room temperature are not as great for us. So there's a big movement towards ghee, butter, tallow, coconut oil. And then, of course, olive oil is good and bad, depending on who you are. So try not to eat it too high. So yeah, we're very obsessed with ghee as oleation of the gut and supportive. So I really teach diet as eat your meals sitting, don't have TV or phone while you're eating. You're communicating between your brain, your gut, and your mouth on what's coming in and what needs to be released to eat it. So I find a lot of times we're all so used to being on our phones when we're eating. And then the body is so confused. Wrong digestive enzymes released. Like I said, we're not releasing the right enzymes. We get ama and toxins, and thus we have inflammation. And so it's just really important to pay attention to that. And then finally, other biggest rules, I have so many. One of them is don't drink water within 30 minutes of your meal before or after, because you're going to, again, put water on this campfire that needs to be up and running to give you the right enzymes to process your food. You're also going to shut down the acidity. Like you'll shut everything down by pouring water on that fire. So no ice water when you walk into restaurants. And finally, no old dead food. So that's why I don't microwave my food. I only use my toaster oven or my stove. And I don't eat food past a day old. And I know that rule is hard because there's a lot of meal planners out there. Home food is still better than eating restaurant food or fast food. So if it's 2 days old from home and that's the option, it's fine. But really thinking about bringing in more fresh ingredients and less of the old and dead is a key piece of our diet and nutrition. And then finally, we do encourage a lot of the spices. The spices in Ayurveda are actually there to help support digestion. So they pre-digest foods that are hard to digest. So for example, red meat you can call hard to digest. Beans can be hard to digest. So we have cumin seeds, we have fennel, we have coriander, we have these perfect spice mixes that help you process and absorb that food properly. And then the final point I'll make there is about the doshas. So I believe that knowing your mind-body constitution is actually key to navigating your health. Do we have to be obsessive about eating within our dosha? No. But a lot of people I meet are so ungrounded as vata people, that air element. I need to show them the grounding foods to balance them, just so they have that in their toolkit and reach for it intuitively. Then I'm a pitta, I'm the fire sign. If you leave me to my own doing, I eat hot sauce, chili oil on everything, further exacerbating my fire. So my awareness of that helps show me you better hydrate all day. You better have coconut water, watermelon, yogurt. Like I have a certain toolkit that I can reach for anytime I can feel that fire overburning and I can feel myself getting imbalanced. And then finally, kapha is what we call that earth energy. Earth energy actually has a slower metabolism and slower digestion. So they should not eat raw salads and a lot of the things we call healthy nowadays. They need cooked meals so that they're supported in processing it. So I do love bringing that doshic understanding in, and I have a dosha quiz on my website. But understanding your dosha and tying it to diet, I think, is that next level understanding that can help us undo a lot of that toxin burden that we have because we're just simply eating outside of our constitution.
Right. And a lot of the tips and tools that you're giving us really are universal. We can all benefit from. I mean, that 12-hour daily fast, eating balance and variety. I'm with you. I don't skip breakfast any day. I don't eat it at 6 a.m. And those could all fit into our daily healthy detox and lifestyle. But then taking it when you work one-on-one, obviously you take it to that deeper level on that personalized approach based on that foundation of like, what is your constitution? What is your base dosha, right? Is that the right way to say it?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was fascinating. I love hearing that. So knowing who you are, and I think, and paying attention, we're all individuals, and know thyself. That's one thing that I grew up hearing my father preach all the time. All things in moderation, and also know thyself. And we can be our own healers. And this is what we're teaching people. You're teaching people on a daily basis. I absolutely love this. Let's take it into the area of the spices. Before I forget, you have a PhD of all things in turmeric. I was so fascinated by that. So tell us, how did you decide on that? And I want to hear more about turmeric. I use it myself, clearly in cooking and nutrition recommendations all the time for anti-inflammatory diets, but I am so excited to hear more about it from you.
Absolutely. So I was in my master's program studying Ayurveda, loved all of it. I was very obsessed with Ayurveda for pregnancy because I think in women's health, we aren't given enough tools to really build the most robust body so that after pregnancy, we come out fully robust and the same. And then I was looking for a PhD dissertation topic because my advisor said, you have to do a PhD. And I was like, okay, fine. That sounds really hard, but okay. And he said, what else are you into? And I said, well, I was in herbology class and they were explaining the benefits of each spice. And when you explain the benefits of turmeric and you hear that, I thought my whole family history is diabetes and heart disease. And all I've watched is the catastrophic end effects of having diabetes for decades in my family. So I had made it my mission starting in high school to never be diabetic. And I would say until my 40s, I have totally won. Now my A1C climbs no matter what I do. And so I'm really actively tripling down on my toolkits to make sure that I hold my numbers down and genetics doesn't come in. But when I heard about turmeric, I was like, wow, this incredible spice does that much for you? That's insane. And so I went about and studied it. And when I studied the science of turmeric, there's over 17,000 scientific studies and papers on turmeric. The scientific community is fascinated by this spice. And most of us are too, because there was a landmark article that was published around how curcumin and curry has Indian people experiencing less Alzheimer's. And so there was this curiosity of like, why, how? So what's cool is turmeric is anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, anti-obesity, and it's very powerful for anti-aging, not just because of the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory aspect, but when it comes to our sirtuins, when it comes to zombie cells that come around and run into everything causing damage, turmeric gets rid of those. It causes cell apoptosis. So it's going to cause cell death in all the cells that aren't meant to hang around anymore, or anything that's come in that doesn't belong. Turmeric just goes after it and gets rid of it. Also, turmeric can repair DNA damage. Turmeric can affect our telomeres, which is the ends of our DNA strands. So the science behind turmeric is vast. And I just thought, okay, you guys are saying turmeric is so awesome. I want to see how this works. So once I finished my dissertation on all that science, and I realized, wow, it impacts NF-kappa B pathways. It affects TNF-alpha. It affects our COX and our LOX. We know that people with chronic joint pain can really benefit. We have a lot of clinical trials on that. So that when people are losing their hand function, it helps them. When they have that back and knee pain and all these joint pains we inevitably get, turmeric can stand up to NSAIDs and have the same effect with less side effects. So that was a moment that really fascinated me. And I thought, okay, I wonder if you created a turmeric that all of Western medicine trusted, I wonder if they would use it for people like me who can't always take an NSAID or ibuprofen. Like I get pain if I take medicines like that. They really hurt me and they have side effects. And so I went about and created my own turmeric about 10 years ago, just to prove my point that we can use this as a solution if we make it in a potent way, third-party tested in the United States and create it in the format that we need for Western medicine to trust. And so what most people don't know about turmeric is out of the entire turmeric plant, let's say you bought raw turmeric at Whole Foods or your grocery store, that raw turmeric is beneficial. There's some benefits, you can juice it. But when you take raw turmeric and you dry it into the spice, it's becoming that much more condensed and potent. So using turmeric as a spice in your cooking is fine. You can cook with it, make sure you add black pepper or a healthy fat, or it's not absorbing well. It doesn't absorb naturally very well. It needs those two supports, one or the other, to get into our system. And then when you take that turmeric powder, only 3% of it is the curcuminoids. And of those 3 curcuminoids, the one curcumin is the most effective at reducing inflammation. And so you had this whole world of supplements explode where people are buying turmeric supplements, but a lot of times it says curcuma longa, and that's just the plant name. That's turmeric powder stuffed in a pill, which really infuriates me because I think we're wasting our time and our money and our effort. But when it comes to those supplements, there are very few that take that correct proportion of the 3 curcuminoids and gives it to you mimicking nature and is standardized to the 95%. And in my case, we go way above the standard, so we land above the standard. And so that's where I found if you go at it from that angle, now we can create significant reduction of inflammation. So all those issues people are talking about, their knee pain, their hip pain, their hands losing function over time. And beyond that too, when you talk about turmeric, we know it has an impact on neurocognitive issues, dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. We know that. That's just the science of it. We know it'll kill off bad things that accumulate in us over time that should be killed off and gotten rid of. We know it can help with blood sugar regulation. It helps our insulin release, helps our pancreas with all of its functions around blood glucose release. So it's just fascinating to me that turmeric has such far-reaching effects. And I think that's why so much of Western science and Western medicine is studying it. And Ayurveda always knew this. Ayurveda always said, you have a cut, put some turmeric on it. You're getting sick, take some turmeric at night. We always used it. And so a lot of people ask me, can't I just use turmeric in my food? Well, yes. Should our food be the first place we go to heal ourselves? Absolutely. But I find that in this modern day time and moment, we're so inflamed that if we're not taking like a true sledgehammer to the problem, we might not get the result that we need. Once you reduce that inflammation, yes, like anti-inflammatory diet, movement, lifestyle, gut health, do all this work and do them alongside each other. But I don't always find that turmeric, the spice, is going to do the job. Because I'm Indian, I eat turmeric every day in my food. It's part of my diet. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be enough for the inflammation that we have from everything else that we're doing that's happening around us.
Right. Of course. I completely agree with that it has to be attacked, a multi-pronged approach to really fighting the inflammation. And that's why I was excited to talk to you about it, because this is such a hot topic, and it's not just like a trendy topic, inflammation. It's not going away, unfortunately, and we need to do all we can to combat it on a daily basis. It sounds like turmeric truly is the super spice for longevity. It's not just the spice of the moment. It's been around for thousands and thousands of years. But that was a really important point you made about the purity and the potency, and that could be an entirely different podcast episode on dietary supplements, of course. And people need to, right, as consumers, you need to know what's in there and what sets apart one product from the other. And it is all the quality, the standards, the potency, the purity, and transparency. So thank you for that. I'm excited about in fact, I actually forgot to mention that you do have the Fusionary Formulas.
Yes, that's the company I created about 10 years ago. And my dream was always to put it into every single doctor's office. So when my doctor says to me, hey, you're inflamed, they'd also say, hey, you can try turmeric for that. Even if they're going to recommend what they're going to recommend as part of their standard of care and what they know and trust, to also trust that turmeric can help reduce that systemic inflammation and go heal the body while they recommend what's going to get us out of pain quick and support us in that way as well.
Is there a specific pain protocol, Shivani?
Yes. So I created 2 formulas, turmeric gold, which I consider the daily preventive, the way to just get that turmeric in that we need. And then I created another formula, inflammation relief, which is a truly Ayurvedic synergistic blend of turmeric, boswellia, dried ginger, amla, which is a powerful antioxidant, in the correct proportion and the correct synergy to deliver a result. Because in Ayurveda, we have a completely different approach to how we formulate. And so it was my orthopedic surgeons who've been using the product for 10 years who put the two together. And they said, that's your pain solution bundle. When people have chronic joint pain, we give them that and they're fine. And they don't have to take painkillers. So that's our protocol. And then once I understood that bad sleep is when we don't clear our inflammation, I started creating a sleep tea, a sleep gummy. I'm very obsessed with sleep. And then I created adaptogenic teas and solutions for stress, because stress alone can cause inflammation. And most of us don't have enough tools to manage our stress throughout the day.
Right. And that brings up my favorite topic too, which is getting good sleep. And sleep is a superpower. I talk a lot about that as well. You just mentioned adaptogenic herbs. I think many people have heard of things like ashwagandha these days, but if you could speak to that, it just brought that up as well. Really quickly, I've heard that there are some people that it's not good for. So how does one know? I don't want to just send everybody out there to say, hey, we all need ashwagandha.
So it's interesting. Ashwagandha is one of the adaptogens. It's the most popular one right now. I think every adaptogen has its role and place based on the issues we're dealing with. In Ayurveda, we have a whole class of herbs, the adaptogens, which help adapt to your system and give you exactly what you need and not give you anything you don't need. So, for example, let's say I took ashwagandha because I was stressed and anxious and it's the holidays and everything's going crazy. When I'm stressed and anxious, it'll bring me down a few notches. But if you have the blues, it'll lift you up a few notches. It's like this constant thermostat working within your system to give you exactly what you need. And I find that so beautiful that the plant kingdom can have that level of intelligence and symbiosis with our body and say, oh, today Shivani's just too stressed. Let's give her extra support. And let's protect her organs from the stress that she's bringing in just from Christmas or the holidays or whatever it may be. So yes, can any given herb be bad for someone? Yes. We should all look up the herbs and make sure we're okay with the negative effects. For example, turmeric has a blood thinning effect. If you're on a blood thinner, do not take a curcumin supplement. It'll be problematic. So in the same way with ashwagandha, it can be bad for the liver. In rare cases, it can cause liver toxicity or liver damage. That's one of the main things that I've seen online about ashwagandha. But it's important to see if you should take it. What's funny is some articles say it's good for thyroid, some say it's bad, so it's hard to know.
That's what I've
Yeah.
So for anyone with thyroid meds, I've seen that it's contraindicated.
Right. So just pay attention to that. A lot of times it's important that we're not taking too many things, then we can't track what's impacting us. I'm one of those people. I take 20 things in a day, so we can normally never tell what's causing the trouble. But really make sure you're taking high quality supplements and potent supplements. For me, I put ashwagandha into tea form. So we're going to get a smaller dosage, but a daily small dose to help with sleep or to help unwind. But there's others. There's shatavari. Shatavari is our queen of adaptogenic herbs for reproductive organs, for male and female. And so when we want more vibrancy for any reason, we can take it. Or if you want, for example, shatavari is good during perimenopause. It's good during menopause. So anytime we're transitioning and the body needs help, you can reach to the adaptogens. So I'm in my mid-40s right now, and I am definitely reaching into the adaptogens for more help. Because I find as we age, the body's like, what? You're giving me less resources, but you want me to work at the same pace. And so we have to give ourselves resources where we can.
Right. Shivani, we needed to call this a perimenopause podcast. Maybe we can do one separately. These questions come up all the time in my daily work, my team. We have so many clients who are in perimenopause and they're struggling. They're reaching for whatever they can get their hands on to take away the negative effects, right? So
absolutely. I myself included. I'm like on testosterone, taking progesterone, high dosing my D. I'm high dosing turmeric as well. I'm like, what else do I need to do to feel normal in this time frame?
And I hope this helps. These adaptogenic herbs are something to reach to. So I wanted to mention there may be certain people, there's always a small percentage of the population. You don't fall into the category of, the ones who benefit from something. But in general, I'd say, do add these spices to your life. I know after this, I will be checking out your turmeric specifically and adding more of the adaptogenic herbs. You made such a good point. The body, that natural intelligence that adapts to what your needs are. It is truly incredible what nature can do.
It is. And even turmeric's adaptogenic in that way. It says in the literature, turmeric's adaptogenic. And I always thought, how? And then I realized these last 10 years watching how people use it, turmeric goes after their big problem first. They came from pain. Then it goes after lesser issues. And they're like, oh, I wake up without my joints hurting and I can walk more easily. I'm not as stiff. And then they're like, you know what? I had gingivitis and now that's gone. And I'm like, well, gingivitis is inflammatory. Or they'll say my allergies were really aggravated, but that like sinus inflammation went down, I guess. And so now my inflammation's gone or my allergies are gone. So I think it's cool that the body knows how to take these spices and solve the issues layer by layer until we're whole and healthy. And then it's not going to use it for any of that anymore. And then we can talk about prevention, longevity, getting rid of things that do not serve. So I just find it so exciting. I'm so excited for the future of turmeric science and what else I can prove and publish on it.
I'm excited about helping all of us incorporate this into our daily lives, taking our health to the next level, really empowering people. And I love learning as I go as well. I've learned so much from you just in this short podcast episode that I'm excited to put into practice. I am not doing the tongue scraping or the oil pulling. I've heard about it. It was a little weird to me too. When you see TikToks on oil pulling, and I didn't know where it actually fits into my daily health or a daily detox. And now you've convinced me. I'm like, oh, wow. It was very eye-opening to hear from you from an Ayurvedic standpoint and perspective and an expert, something like this that's been around literally for thousands of years. Why aren't we all doing this?
Yeah. And sometimes we don't want to habit stack too big in the morning because it gets tough. So coffee tongue scraping, it takes 10, 15 seconds. It's a quickie. And your oil pulling, you can do anything else. You can shower, make your morning coffee. You can clean up the house. Like anything you need to do, you can do it while oil pulling. So it's a multitasking habit, which I like.
Right. That was very clear to me. It doesn't sound time consuming and also setting your daily intention. I personally do try to carve out daily time for yoga and meditation, even if that combined is only a half an hour of time. But again, you've given us the tools on how to then add some of these practices throughout the day as well. I see you and I both sipping tea as we talk. What are some of your other daily habits or practices? And you're a busy mother yourself. How do you then find time to cook healthy meals? And how do you manage the family eating and incorporate the practices of Ayurveda into your own family's nutrition?
It's not easy. I'm obsessed with food, and I know that food is the building block, and it's either the perfect solution or it's our worst enemy. And so because I've had a family with so much diabetes my whole life, I have a lot of categories of food that I call poison. So I consider sugar poison. I don't buy processed sugar stuff that I would eat. If I want a treat, it's dark chocolate with almonds. That's like my only acceptable form of a treat, just because I have to take very hard lines with myself. If I don't, I jump right into the pre-diabetic category and my numbers move right up onto the line. And so for my household, I use Instacart and I order in organic food from Costco. I order Sprouts. I find farmers markets where I shop, or I will order and have those delivered too, because time is of the essence. And if something's hard and difficult and requires me to drive an hour on my Saturday, but I've got soccer games, it's just not going to happen. So the investment into finding the best food coming in and making that normal and the priority, pasture-raised organic eggs only, all these things is like my first rule. And then it gets a little tougher with kids because they don't necessarily want to eat what you want them to eat. So I would say we in our household eat Indian food every day, and on the weekends we can go out more and have more fun. But I'm always looking for, do the meals have enough protein? Are we getting enough fiber? Are we eating low carb? Because even children nowadays can have a higher A1C than what we want. Are we getting out in nature and moving enough? So for me, I try to build a rhythm and I get help. I'll have people who come and help with the cleaning or with chopping, so everything's cut and ready. Because sometimes to me, I can spend on a lot of things in life, or I could spend on food being good. And if the food is good, then I get to keep my health. So I really think about it a lot. I prioritize my budget towards health instead of things. And that's a very conscious decision I've made. And then finally, I have a habit I love I have 2 more self-care rituals I didn't mention. I'm not a good meditator. I normally can't sit still without my list of things just jamming up my brain. And then I get on my phone and I'm like, wow, you don't know how to meditate. So I meditate by either walking in nature, because nature to me is so beautiful and moving, I can meditate. Or I have something called Collect Peace, where if I'm on the road all day, I'm in conferences, meeting doctors all the time and speaking at medical conferences, I'll just get outside in nature and take deep breaths and like literally tune into a tree or plant and collect peace. And that collecting of peace is the exact amount of decompression I need at different points of the day to just settle. And as long as I'm settled, I'm not going in that overrun, overwhelm, constant action mode that I tend to be in. And then secondly, I created something called Tea Time is Me Time. So I'm addicted to tea. I drink about 5 cups a day. I start my morning with jasmine green tea. I have a mid-morning, I have my high tea, and then I have to switch to non-caffeinated so I don't affect my sleep quality. So then I have either peppermint tea or my adaptogenic unwind tea, deep sleep tea. But tea to me is when I just take a minute. You can use with coffee. You can do hot water. You don't have to do tea, hot water with lemon. And I take a moment and I just tune in and I ask myself, how are you doing? Everything okay in there? Anything we need to change to make today better? Are you going to get to eat today? Like really basic questions, but my intuition comes back to me and is like, no, you need to cancel on that appointment. You can't go to Miami Friday. No, you didn't plan to eat dinner. You're going to eat junk at the end of the night if you don't stop at 5 o'clock and eat something. And so I have learned that we can really train our intuition to give us the answers we need for our own health and well-being at a level that most of us have underestimated. And so I use tea as the anchor to just pause, tune in, take a breath, and then keep going.
That's a gem. I love that. I do the same, and I haven't framed it in that way. That's a positive self-talk tea time. Yes. Just check in and breathe. And
the mindful moment.
The mindful moments are so important. And thank you for saying that as well. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves now. There are so many people who think they fail at meditation, but I love what you said. There are no rules to it. Go out and take some deep breaths in nature. That's the one thing I do tell everybody is get outside every single day. Who doesn't feel better when you get fresh air versus being inside?
True.
Caught up in, work, daily stresses. You saw me. We had to pause this because of my own stress in my own home. After this, Shivani, I'll be going for a walk.
And my habit when I walk that helps me, because I have such a fiery, active mind, I can walk and be writing my next business plan. My brain is just on all the time.
Yeah.
So when I go in nature, I say, find 5 things that are beautiful. And so I'll say, oh my gosh, look at those trees, look at those flowers, look at that other thing. By the 4th or 5th one, I'm in this state of bliss where I'm like, wow, how did the universe make such a gorgeous planet? And I get to live here and I get to experience it. So that alone is my meditation, just dropping into this bliss of the beauty. And then I can't think about anything else because I'm just in gratitude. And so that's my form of walking meditation.
Sink into gratitude. I love that as well. I always have my phone with me, Shivani, and I end up taking nature photos. The photography is my thing.
Yeah, me too. I love it. And I'm like, I don't know what I want to do with these photos, but I love taking photos.
Occasionally I'd post them, but not really. They're for me and in that moment. And it's my little momentary bliss, as you called it. This is so much fun. I don't want to stop talking. I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. Since it is holiday time and we're talking about families and holiday eating and managing stress, I just want to ask if anything comes to mind. Do you have maybe a simple recipe you want to share for, say, something like a treat? You mentioned you don't really bring refined sugar into your home. So what would be a treat or like some holiday recipe that you could share with us?
When I host the holidays, I'll serve like a normal person. So I will bring in soda. I'll execute a beautiful dessert table. I bought brownie mix at Costco. I can't wait to make those brownies. It's going to be really hard not to take a bite. I might take one bite because I made them. And I used to love all these foods. I just know that in perimenopause and at this age and at this moment, those things don't serve me. So I can eat them, but then I better go walk a mile after and undo anything. And gluten doesn't tolerate in my system either. So recipes for me during this time of year, I try to keep the recipes really nutrient dense because we are in cold and flu season and my immune system always needs more support through December. Historically, I always got really sick after Christmas. I think it was the sugar hangover and all the fun and holidays and travel, which happens. And I actually do believe we should enjoy our holiday season. I'm the biggest fan of the holidays. So whatever you're going to do during the holidays, enjoy it. Fully enjoy it. Don't punish yourself, but simultaneously build the foundation for it. So eat more protein in your day. Crowd out the bad carbs. Avoid the soda sugar stuff. Instead, eat the treats you really love. Like whatever the thing is that you really love, enjoy that 1 or 2 things. In my house, we shift into really eating more hot and warming foods because seasonally we're in the cold season. So our lentils, I'm going to add more spinach in. I'm going to add more just spices to everything because, again, the spices themselves are anti-inflammatory. And to be honest, I know I'm going to enjoy Chardonnay and some fun dinner. So I just pop 2 turmerics on the way to everything. I did it for Thanksgiving. I was like, double turmeric. I'm covering myself with the inflammation I'm about to cause. And that's how I think of it. And then I'm guilt-free about it.
I'm laughing. I love that. It's better than popping 2 NSAIDs.
Correct.
Right? And a lot of people do that. So, oh my gosh, that was perfect. I absolutely love it. All right. Well, I'm going to ask you one final question today. And that is what I ask all my guests. What is one thing you're grateful for today, Shivani?
I am grateful for our health that we have it as right now, because what I'm realizing is health is a journey and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And when you can move and function and do everything you want in your life, that alone is a gift. So be grateful for what you have, because in my case, I'm always looking at what I don't have in my health and what I have to work towards. So in this moment, it's just gratitude for, you know what, you've done good work this year. You feel good. Everything's looking good. And then we can make a new plan in the new year around improvements and optimization again.
Well, that's beautiful. I'm very grateful to have you here. I'm grateful for your health, my health, and sharing all these fabulous tools and tips with listeners. This was incredible. And I really, truly would love to have you back. Shivani, where can listeners find you? What do you want to share with everybody?
Sure. So my website is shivanigupta.com. It's ShivanIGupta. And on there, I have my inflammation guide, 7-day inflammation challenge, the dosha quiz, my cookbook. I have a podcast on there called the Fusionary Health Podcast. And then I have my supplements and teas called Fusionary Formulas as well.
Fantastic. Well, I can't thank you enough for being here. And I wish you a beautiful, fun, and delicious holiday season and hope to have you back soon.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you for taking time to join me and listen to this episode. You can find more information and subscribe to the Sense of Wellness podcast on our website at ccphp.net/sens. This show is brought to you by Castle Connolly Private Health Partners, a concierge medicine organization that partners with and supports exceptional physicians to deliver an unrivaled experience of comprehensive, collaborative, and attentive care for a preventative approach on health and optimal well-being for members. Be sure to listen in next time to the Sense of Wellness podcast, and remember, simple daily habits matter most.